The bye-week version of Vikings Game Plan from the TCO studios continues. Welcome back. Former Vikings linebacker Ben Leber, Ron Johnson, WabiVikings.com, and I'm Paul Allen. Team is 5-3-1 through the first 9. Bears game plan next week. What do you guys think at the 5-3-1, Ben?
You know, it's been solid. I wouldn't say it's been great, but I think it's playing out in a good way because you look at the start of the season and huge expectations. A lot of people patting people on the back saying, you guys are a great defense, you're a good team. We'll see you at the Super Bowl, we'll see you in Atlanta. And I think that every team needs to be humbled a little bit. And they got humbled in the most, horrific way against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
And they've had to sort of scrap and claw and try to find themselves. I think this team is a hardened football team now, and I think that's a good thing. So the record probably isn't as good as they want it to be. The performances haven't been there, but I like the way it's sort of being played out because I think they're going to be a better football team at the end of the season because of the start.
Where they're at now, they can go 10-4-1 and then play the Bears at the end of the year to clinch where they are. And so when you look at those teams, like I think the Saints, the Super Bowl, in my opinion, goes through New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Rams, but I think down the stretch, people are going to figure out this offense, and Anthony Barr is not going to be put in that situation again.
I think from an injury standpoint, the bye is coming at a great time.
Mm-hmm.
From a style and a momentum standpoint, you probably would like to play this week. The Vikings have won 4 of their last 5, so they're kind of on a roll. The running game is going. Dalvin was back. Overall, though, I think the bye comes at a good time because of the health.
Offense. John DeFilippo talked about this earlier in the show. The Vikings running game is really coming together nicely. How nicely, and do you think this is absolutely a pass-first team?
Yeah, I think it is. It is a pass-first team, and I know that they want to find some running balance, and that's not a 50-50 deal. Balance on offense is just keeping the defense unbalanced.
Yeah.
And so if it's 60-40, that's a balanced offense as long as it's successful. I do think having Dalvin back, as we saw in this last week's game with a 70-yard run, is exactly what they need. Because our offensive line is not road grading, going to set a new line of scrimmage each and every run play, those holes and creases are only going to be there for a split second, and he's quick enough to hit those, and that's exactly what happened on that run. So there's more good things to come out of this run game than the previous few games.
Yeah, and I like what Ben said. It's not a 50-50 thing. That's not what the balance that you need to strike. That's not what it is. It is when you need to run the ball, can you run it?
Yeah.
End of the Philadelphia game with Latavius Murray.
Good example.
Vikings needed to run the ball, and they could. At the end of the day, though, Ron, this is Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Kirk Cousins, and I think that's the strength of the team.
And the one thing I'll say, though, is this is a little bit different. So what DeFilippo's figured out is Stephon Diggs can run with the ball in his hands, Adam Thielen can run with the ball in his hands, and linebackers that are in the box now are getting tested because if you're going to cover my slot receiver, I'm just going to run a toss. It's as similar as a toss sweep, but now I'm just throwing it out there quicker. So I think we're going away from a true, 25 carries, like Ben said. It's not 50-50. I think the biggest thing we're going to have to, the Lions learning is the you and the me block. If you can't reach that guy, you have to tell him you, meaning you take him and then I'm going to come around and get your guy. And I think they're getting better, but I mean, we had so many pieces switch out with Compton getting hurt, Isadora getting his first action, all this stuff. As they learn and grow together, and this bye week is perfect, they'll be able to have those conversations.
One thing that is fact when we play the Bears beginning next week through the final 7 games, Danielle Hunter is a National Football League Defensive Player of the Year candidate. 11.5 sacks, that scoop and score against the Lions. Granted, when you're dealing with Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, and all those high-end players, Danielle has to continue. But seriously, if he continues on this pace, he might win that award.
Well, I think, Ben, think about when you were playing for the Vikings. You had Jared Allen as a defensive end on your defense. The Vikings have Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter. The impact of a defensive end like Danielle Hunter on your team is massive.
Well, and those guys, I know that we can't go back and ask them to do different things, but Danielle's doing it from the right and the left. And it's really hard. I mean, we talk about so much like, oh, we'll just take a right tackle and move over to left tackle. And then, whoa, you can't just do that. Like, there's different mechanics involved, right? And then all of a sudden, he naturally goes over to the right side with Everson out and has a Pro Bowl type of season over there, and then he's got to go back to the left. I think the hidden thing is when you look at the voting, these guys internally with the NFL, they're going to look at how well are you as a complete player. They're not going to just look at sacks and pressures. He plays the run pretty darn good, right? And that was his strength even before he became a pass rusher. So he plays the run, he plays the pass on both sides. He's pretty much a complete defensive end.
When he first took a full-time role as a starter, we saw diminished play. This year, he told me in the offseason, I've worked at this. I've talked to Everson of what I need to do to understand how to play 80+% of the snaps on defense. And you're seeing the product of that. He was already ready to make this jump back and forth because he wanted that hockey type of lineup with his D-line to say, line change. I need 4 new guys to go in there, and you 4 have to produce for me. I'm paying you to be here. And that's what you're seeing. Danielle is now the heartbeat of that defense, and the cool thing was see Everson celebrate with him because that shows that Everson knows, like, this kid's good.
Yep.
And we're going to do this together. I mean, they're going to be a force to reckon with when you look at the Giants when they had Strahan and Tuck. And honestly, I want to see him evolve even to standing up and getting over the center. Like when Danielle can move around and get over the center and get in an A-gap, I don't think there's a guy in the NFL that can block him standing up, running full speed downhill through an A-gap. And that's when this gets really scary, when Weatherly can be on one side, Ev on the other, and Danielle is your beast.
Great job, guys. Can't wait to game plan for the Chicago Bears next week. Ben Leber, Ron Johnson, Wabi, and I'm Paul Allen. For all of us here at the TCO studios and with the Vikings Entertainment Network, that's Vikings Game Plan. Thanks for watching.